Do you ever feel hurried or too busy as an artist or creator? Have you felt disconnected from your craft? Do you have feelings of inadequacy and imposter syndrome? I struggled with this early on in my years as a watercolor artist. I thoroughly enjoyed creating, but there were times when I felt like no one appreciated my work, I wasn't good enough, and that I should give up. But everything changed when I discovered how to practice self-care through mindfulness. Hi there, my name is Audrey and I'm a watercolor artist. I've been an educator for over 10 years and have been teaching on Skillshare since 2017. You may recognize my loose floral style and wreath paintings. I love to help students let go of their perfectionism and gain confidence through their skills. Now, today might be a hard day for some of you because we're going to confront some of the negativity that we face, particularly as artists and creatives. But as we do that, we're also going to acknowledge the positives and grow from this experience. First, let's set up our workspace. Grab a sheet of watercolor paper, a 5x7 sheet or larger will do, your brush, paint, water, paper towel, and a pen. So this is what I painted as an example, but I'm going to use a smaller piece of paper for today's practice. Basically, we're first going to paint lines using various values and colors. Value refers to the relative lightness or darkness of a color. Now you can choose whatever colors you want to do. You can do one color or multiple colors. In general, though, try to use slightly lighter colors so that we can write on top of it. Now on the left side here, I put down the negative thoughts. Perhaps it's imposter syndrome. Maybe someone told me when I was younger that I could never be an artist. Now, a lot of the negativity that we face are rooted in fear. And one way to face that negativity is by developing positive alternatives. So that's why I have 2 columns of horizontal lines. So in the left column is a negative, and then the positive alternatives are on the right side. Basically, doing this exercise is going to help you start shifting your mindset from, letting the negative fear hold you back and using the positive alternatives to move forward. So let me share a few of mine. You don't have a distinct art style. And my positive alternative is that I've evolved since my early days of painting. And now I can describe my work as loose and elegant. The negative, you didn't go to art school and you don't know what real art is. The positive alternative is that art is expressed from within, and technique is something that can be learned outside of the 4 walls of a school. So those are just some of my examples. So think about that as we paint now. As we paint, remember to breathe calmly and observe your brush and feel your hand connected to it, and as if it's an extension of your fingers. I'm going to use a reddish color on the left and a greenish color on the right. So again, just make sure that you're in a comfortable sitting position. Anytime your brush hits the water, you're just being mindful and thinking about that, and just move slowly. Don't rush this process. I'm picking up my red paint. Now to play around with value, you want to make sure that there isn't a lot of water mixed in with your paint. So I'm picking up paint directly from the palette. And if I do that, then the paint's going to be pretty dark. Now these lines don't have to be perfect at all. They don't have to be straight. They don't have to be a certain width. They can be however you like. So this is a pretty dark value. So if you want to get a lighter value, simply take your brush, wash it out just a little bit, blot just for half a second, and then come up right against that again. And then now you have a lighter line. So keep doing this until you fill out that entire column. Now again, as you're doing this process, just move slowly and be thinking. Using my size 6 round brush. Remember to breathe. Let's go ahead and do the second column. And again, as I'm doing this, I'm really trying to connect to my brush. Notice how the paint is entering the brush, leaving the brush, etc. Now, before we start writing, we need to wait for the paint to completely dry. So you can speed up this process with a hairdryer if you'd like, or go do a different activity, do a breathing exercise, whatever you want to do while you're waiting. Either way, go ahead and pause here and go do that and come back when your paint is dry. Welcome back. Let's finish today's exercise by writing out the negative beliefs on the left and the positive alternatives on the right. As you do this, remember that the negative beliefs don't define you. They're rooted in fear and they can be overcome. Moving forward, try to commit the positive alternatives to memory so that you can remind yourself from time to time. Let's go ahead and do that now. Grab your permanent pen and take your time with this exercise. So for this first one, I wrote, artists can't make a decent living. We've all heard that phrase, starving artists. So for the positive alternative, I'm going to write, I'm more than an artist. I'm an educator, an entrepreneur. Go ahead and write out a few more. You don't have to fill out the whole page. Just write down as many negative beliefs as you can that really seem to hit you at your core. Good job! Now, what can you do with this? Well, you can post it onto your inspirational board, like I have in the back here. You can take a picture of it and make it a desktop wallpaper. The important thing is that you remind yourself of the positive alternatives.
Working from instinct is really important because for me, it's the most accurate way that I can depict how I am feeling. It allows me to put my honest self into the work. I'm Amber Vittoria and I am an illustrator. A lot of the work that I make focuses on femininity in the female form, and I work both commercially and editorially. Thank you so much for taking this class and for spending time with me. I'm super excited. Let's get started. Now we are going to draw with our eyes closed. I'm going to draw this on my computer because it makes it a little bit more interesting. Things that I want you to think about as we're getting into this exercise is the piece itself is also going to be a self-portrait. I want you to close your eyes and envision how you see yourself. It can be something that's abstracted, that's a pattern. It could be a collage with your eyes closed. Whatever kind of mood that you're in, let that piece kind of take on that emotion. And this is really important too, because similarly to drawing with our less dominant hand, drawing with your eyes closed kind of frees up your mind and allows you to just experiment and play with different form and your imagination. I am going to be using Adobe Photoshop on my computer. and the trackpad. I make most of my work with my trackpad, and a lot of my artist friends get very confused as to why I don't use an iPad or like a tablet. I just love using the trackpad because it allows for natural errors to happen, but you can use anything. So I'm using Photoshop. Feel free to join me if you would like to use Photoshop as well. If not, feel free to do another drawing by hand with your eyes closed. Awesome. Okay. Make sure not to knock my laptop over while doing this. I've been known to like knock coffee off of the table while I'm drawing with my eyes closed. So as you're drawing your portrait, make sure that any of those doubting words that you're saying to yourself, like, I feel kind of silly, it's okay. You're supposed to feel kind of silly. And these drawings, sometimes I suggest keeping them shorter. So we could do a few of them if you've got extra paper, or in Photoshop, just kind of save extra layers. That way you could save it as one cohesive file and reference it for the future if you'd like. That way you don't feel like you're focusing on one drawing for an extended period of time. Just because drawing with your eyes closed, I feel like you fill up the page a bit faster than if your eyes were open. So I felt like I finished my first drawing, and this is what it came out to be, which is pretty awesome. I think the fact that you don't have any spatial awareness of the edges of your canvas or of your paper, physically you might, but being able to kind of go off of that and not worry about the boundaries is really interesting. I'm feeling excited. We're filming this. It's awesome. I'm also kind of experimenting with my own comfort level and being able to push that. So the serendipity of the portrait kind of falling off the side of the canvas speaks to that emotion that I'm feeling right now, which is kind of cool. So we're going to do it again. We're going to do this a few times, and feel free to do it for as many or as little times as you need. I like to do this probably like 2 to 3 times. I'm going to pick a different color. I'm going to do blue. I'm also going to decrease my brush size for this one. And for this one, I'm going to try to do a profile portrait. I often feel that we don't really look at ourselves from profile because it's kind of difficult unless we've got a photo of ourselves. So it kind of makes it a bit easier to envision because you're not envisioning for accuracy. You're envisioning for what you think you might look like. So it kind of plays into your imagination. Again, now I'm attempting to draw a turtleneck because I love them. If I could wear a turtleneck every day, life would be pretty good. Unless it's 90 degrees out then. Not so good. Now I'm attempting to draw the plants behind me. I really love those from our first exercise. If you're drawing by hand, feel free to switch up the markers that you have or the colored pencils if you want to play with different colors. Before you start drawing with your eyes closed, make sure to kind of set those up with all the markers open. That way you don't have to worry about losing caps or anything like that on your pens. If you're drawing digitally, it might be a little bit more difficult to switch colors, but feel free to kind of like click off and then click back on and see what happens. I'm going to stick with the blue color that I originally made. And now that I'm feeling good about this second piece, I feel like I've kind of covered the whole canvas. I'm going to open my eyes and see what it looks like. Now for this piece, I think that the blue, I chose a color that is on level with my current mood, which is really excited, but also a bit calm. And this was an attempt to be a profile of my face. And for this piece, adding the plants in the background really brought a nice texture to it. And to be able to open up and see that the nose is much higher in the plane than the eyes, than the ears, it kind of gives this like upward looking feeling. And I feel like that also resonates with me because I was kind of feeling a bit hopeful today and a bit excited about what this class would become, and that's what this portrait looks like, so that's pretty awesome. We're going to do one more portrait with our eyes closed, and hopefully at this point, now that we're kind of 2 in, you're feeling a bit more relaxed, you're not feeling silly anymore, you're like, this is a really fun exercise. I really love how my instinct is leaning into what these pieces are turning out, and even if they're not, that's still okay. The idea is to just kind of loosen up, get out of your own head, and enjoy making art for the sake of it. For this third one, I'm gonna pick red. I feel like my favorite colors change minute by minute. I'm feeling red. So for our third portrait, I'm gonna focus more on the plants behind me. So I'm gonna first start off and like make a smaller portrait of what I think I look like in the foreground, and then focus on the plants. The reason why I'm doing that is right now I'm just kind of, I wish I could be outside with the weather being a bit warmer, and being able to be in the sun and be around nature is always something that kind of rejuvenates me. So kind of wishful thinking as I'm putting that into this drawing. I'm feeling pretty good with this one. I think I got a lot of plant in there, so I'm going to open my eyes. And I forgot to draw my eyes, which I think kind of leans into the entire idea of drawing with your eyes closed. So down here is the portrait, and then up here, I pretty accurately got a leaf-ish. And just being able to kind of draw my surrounding also kind of speaks to where I am physically. So it's pretty exciting to see.
I think it's amazing, but it can also be quite overwhelming to be good at or interested in many things. I know how having too many ideas can completely freeze us all-rounders. The same can happen when we think we have no ideas, and that's why I'm sharing my peculiar exercises with you here. These help both tame the mind and give it permission to do its thing, create. Looking back, I wish I had discovered sooner what I will share with you now about the creative process. A long time ago, when I was still in the art academy, I was struggling with anxiety and huge self-doubt. I couldn't see the quality of my own work until years later. With each assignment, when I was about mid-creation, I was filled with self-doubt. I wanted to start all over because I thought my idea was crap. Or I didn't even go to the meetings where we would all share our results. I was just too afraid. Nonetheless, I made it to the end and graduated, only to appreciate all that I had made many years later. What happened to me was twofold. One, I didn't realize that what I was experiencing was a normal part of each creative cycle. And two, my inner critic, Mrs. Scared, whom you may have met in my inner critic series, was in full control of me. Then one day in 2006, in one of my early jobs at the publishing company that also involved creativity, I discovered this tiny book. It's only 48 pages with large type, and it describes the process of producing an idea. It is written by James Webb Young in 1967 for people in advertising like himself or in other creative jobs. It is all still very useful today. After gathering information and combining old things into new combinations, and after digesting this information, little ideas start to come. When you continue for a while, you will become more and more tired, and you keep pushing until the hopeless stage comes. The hopeless stage, it's a real thing. I was not strange or bad at getting ideas. I was normal, at least in this regard. So realize that the hopeless stage is all part of the process. He writes, But after a while you will reach the hopeless stage. Everything is a jumble in your mind, with no clear insight anywhere. All you need to do when you reach it is put everything aside and do something that doesn't require thinking at all, like sit and have a cup of coffee. I have discovered that this keeps coming back in cycles, even after having started actually executing the idea. Because each step, each decision is an idea as well, like the choice of a color or medium or composition. Unless you are in a flow, you will find yourself in hopelessness from time to time. Knowing that it is a normal and healthy part of the creation process could give you some confidence already. At least not to give up a creative practice just yet.